Hello everyone, it's good to see you at e-Samvaad. We are going with the ongoing lecture series on Sudha Murty's Wise and Otherwise. In the previous lecture, I completed story number 21 till 25. Let us now go to the next 5 anecdotes, the next 5 topics, the next 5 chapters of this particular book, Wise and Otherwise by Sudha Murty. Today I'll be taking up stories 26 all the way till number 30. This is me, Piyush Chaudhary, Assistant Professor at the Department of English at Hansraj College. I heartily welcome you all once again. Thank you. Now, let us begin with anecdote number 26, chapter number 26, which is titled, Not All is Wrong with the Next Generation. So this is a story of a conversation between Sudha Murty and her young son, who is a teenager. So in this story, Sudha Murty asks her younger son, who is a teenager, and she asks him to enumerate 3 most important inventions or revolutions or ideas of the 20th century. So the young boy says that it is firstly, it's the principle of non-violence. Secondly, he says that it's the effect of violence on humanity at large. And thirdly, he says that it is the impact of the communication media. And then he says that the first idea is the importance of non-violence. This is the most revolutionary idea in 20th century given by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, and he played one of the biggest roles in and creating this mass movement and mass revolution, which ultimately led to the independence of India, of course with support of so many other freedom fighters. So this was the first idea. Then the second idea was the effect of violence. For the second idea, he gives the example of Adolf Hitler, that Hitler was a leader, he was a strong leader, but he used all the wrong methods, to prove his leadership, and he was in fact a very poor general commander of the army, and because of his poor military skills and his wrong methods, it ultimately led to his downfall. Thirdly, the young boy talks about how today the world is becoming more and more small. The world is not becoming large, rather it is becoming more constricted, more small with the advent of the internet. And just by one click, you're able to watch this lecture, right? So the world is becoming more small and smaller. At the comfort of your homes, you are able to watch this lecture, and that is the inevitable fallout of internet. So then her son says that it doesn't mean that we are losing our old culture, but rather we are getting exposed to new and several varied cultures. Now after this conversation, Sudha Murty was highly impressed of her son. She was really happy that his son is able to understand such things, and she learns this lesson from her own son, irrespective of her of the age gap or the domestic relationship that they have together, right? She says that anyone who has knowledge and anyone who offers some knowledge should be respected. So therefore the larger idea that Sudha Murty is trying to tell us is that each generation, be it generation Z, popularly nowadays known as Gen Z, so be it the older generation or perhaps if we go back in time, so every generation has something good to teach us. So we just cannot say that the Gen Z is useless, or the Gen Z is not competitive, or the Gen Z is they have lost focus, or such ideas are constantly nowadays coming up, that the Gen Z is it's a messed up generation. But that is not true. Each generation has something to offer to us. This is what I strongly believe, right? So just to say bad things about the upcoming generation and saying good things, several elder people have this tendency to say that their generation was the best, the other generation is not so good, but that's not true. Each and every generation has something to offer, and this is perhaps what exactly Sudha Murty does. She is someone from a senior generation. She is willing to learn from her own son, right? She is very proud of her son, and she learns this lesson from her son, that each culture has something different to give us, right? And therefore this is also the purpose of literature, that one must learn from someone who has to offer something. So therefore, as professors of literature, even I, if I talk about myself, even I get a chance to learn from students of literature, and perhaps this is what exactly literature teaches us. It teaches us to become humans, it teaches us to become more humble, and it teaches us to learn and to take knowledge and ideas from wherever one can get it, right? So this is the larger idea that Sudha Murty is trying to tell us. So this is the moral of the story of anecdote number 26. Let's now come to anecdote number 27, which is titled Think Positive, Be Happy. This is a story of Girija. Girija is Sudha Murty's cook, who comes from a very poor family, but she's, contented with whatever little she has. Then Sudha Murty talks about a rich friend of hers. His name is Vasant, who is extremely rich, who is doing a great job, but he's always complaining about life. He's complaining about the weather, he's complaining about his children, he's complaining about their education, he's complaining about his investments, and he has become a very pessimistic man. Right. Then some days later, she meets Girija again, who is very upset because her husband has abandoned her. Earlier on she was upset, but now she's finding her groove, and she's happy because she believed that she's lucky that because God has given her this problem, and because of that her husband has moved away from her life, and therefore she is now happy that she can live her life on her own terms, and therefore she is happy that whatever little she gets in her life, she gets it from the blessings of the God. So one must look at life in a positive way, and this is the point that Sudha Murty is trying to tell us by comparing the lives of Girija and Vasant. So Girija has learnt to see the positive side of the life, and this is exactly what the title is. Okay, be positive and think positive. So perhaps this GE, this is the idea, this is the reason why this GE has been offered, so that please consider each and every anecdote of this book, of this course, as someone who's speaking to you to become a better version of yourself, right? So perhaps this GE, which is being taught to the University of Delhi students, will help us realize that and we can embark on some lessons that Sudha Murty is trying to give us, that even in difficult situations one must always look at the positive side. So this is the reason that this paper is being prescribed by the Department of English at the University of Delhi as a GE course, so that student can learn the moral values, they can learn ethical values, they can learn some practical values and some practical life skills from the experiences of someone else, and this someone else in this case is Sudha Murty, right? So let's now come to chapter number 28, which is titled Light as Many Candles as Possible. In this story, Sudha talks about how that walking on the street one can learn a lot rather than sitting in the classroom. It is by looking at several people and the problem that these people face that she has been able to understand the problems in others' life, and and then she is willing to do good to everyone and anyone. So even a small gesture can go a long way. So this is exactly what Sudha Murty wants us to do and to follow in story number 28. Let's now next come to chapter number 29, which is A Woman with a Mind. So this basically talks about a woman, her name is Nalini, who is a professor in a college in Bangalore, and she's always busy at home with her son or her husband or her family or maintaining a family. She was highly educated, she was a well read and a very strong academic. She was a professor, but then she cannot really take decisions from her life. She is very educated, but she is not at all confident or independent to make decisions in her life. Then we meet with another woman. Her name is Yelama, and she is an uneducated woman. She is comes from a very humble and very poor background, but along with her husband, both of them are able to make decisions, take decisions, act strongly, and then they are able to start their business, and their business really goes well, and they earn well. So this is what the story is telling us, that even though one is educated, it does not mean that they are able to take decisions in their life. So walking on the streets, learning from the experiences of others, observing life, perhaps this is more important than classroom discussions. This is what Sudha Murty is trying to tell us. So next up we have anecdote number 30, which is the last topic of this lecture today. This talks about the IT divide, right? It talks about how the cultural changes have come up after the information technology boom in the late 90s and the early 21st century, in the early 2000s. So this is a story about Sudha Murty. She goes to a fruit vendor and she asks the price of the fruit. Then suddenly Sudha Murty's young assistant, Sudha Murty is dressed in a sari, so the shopkeeper was not able to realize that Sudha Murty is this extremely powerful CEO of this big IT firm. And then comes a man who is dressed in shirts and pants, and he looks very modern. He looks like a proper IT going and an IT working professional. His name is Ramesh. He comes there, and when he asks the price of the fruits, then the shopkeeper increases the price manifold, and he increases the price exponentially, because he thinks that someone who is working in the IT can definitely earn more, and therefore he can pay more. So he said that Ramesh is working in an IT company, and as soon as IT, someone mentions IT, he says that if people mention IT in their resume, they get a big dowry, they earn a lot, and therefore they can spend a bit more also. So this is a real life story that Sudha Murty saw. She went through this story in her own life. So but Sudha Murty here does not go into the debate. but rather she just observes what is happening around. So an assistant of Sudha Murty, someone who's working way below Sudha Murty, that person is seen as extremely rich by the shopkeeper just because his dressing sense indicates that he has been working in an IT company. So therefore the story talks about the cultural change that the IT boom has brought about. So it's just a story from the bygone days of India, and how things change over a period of time, and how the IT boom has brought about certain changes. The idea of dowry and men getting more money, and people looking at the people working in the IT sector are often seen as someone who are doing really well in life, right? So it may or may not be true, that's a different thing, but that's the idea, the cultural idea behind the IT sector people who are deemed as very rich people by the society. So that is story number 26. I'll come to the end of this lecture. We have completed till story number 30, right? Some 20 or 21 more anecdotes are left, which I'll be completing in the subsequent parts. So I would request you all to share this video with your friends, so that everybody can get more perspectives from students from other colleges. They can also, obviously these videos are in the open public domain, so it's for the benefit of everyone, right? So thank you so much for being with me through these lectures. More lectures are coming on the way. I'll be preparing them very soon, and I'll be uploading them on our Hansraj e-Samvaad YouTube channel, which is a channel for digital creation and distribution of knowledge. Thank you so much. I'll see you very soon. Goodbye. Jai Hind.